Hey guys, it's been a few days since I've been able to record a video. It's been a busy few days with family obligations and then some travel, and good to be back here. And I want to talk about depression. Jim Carrey, the comedian and actor, said something a while back around, I'll paraphrase his quote. Depression is the gap between who you are pretending to be or pretending to be and the person that you really are. And depression is your body and your mind screaming out to honor the truth of who you are. And he then goes on to talk about how depression, interestingly enough, depression, he then says, is the antidote to that is deep rest, depressed, deep rest. So if you say that fast, deep rest actually is depressed. I always thought that was interesting. And I could relate to that. And, with as much disconnect between my soul and the life that I lived, and what does that mean? It means that closing that gap and honoring the true self is so important, or you'll continue to have that depression. And deep rest, or my take on it anyway, is that it's not only taking time to rest, and that's part of it, but it's a rest from the act, from the performance, from the person that you feel like you need to be in the world in which you operate versus whoever that true soul is. And it takes time to figure out who that person is. But the first sign of the disconnect is that depression, or an early sign. I don't want to say first sign. So, what do you do about that? Well, when you feel depressed, you start to go deep on, where am I not being truthful in my life, to my work, to my family, to the people around me, to myself? And why am I doing it? And what could I do to change it? And it's not always easy to change, which in my case, you can get more depressed because then you feel trapped. And, that's where, elements of the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, Bill Plotkin, Soulcraft, talks about these pivotal moments of identifying these disconnects, and then the ego, who's scared of a rebirth or death, will hold on dearly to the old life when your soul is looking to align. And I'm going through it right now, so I can tell you it's really, really hard. But, that depression is really the first sign. And the deep rest from the performance and the performative nature of who we bring to the world. If you allow it, will start to shed itself, and the ego will hold on to for dear life because it feels like it's dying, because it is a form of death. It's that identity death. But for anybody out there who's listening to this and is feeling depressed, think about where you think you might not be honest in what you're projecting yourself to the world as. And that gap between who you might be and the person that you're putting out there in every facet of your life. And you might not know or have clarity on who you are. And that's okay. That takes time. But really recognizing that there's this gap. And what I'm learning is that in the process of figuring out who you are, it is tiring, and your body does need deep rest. So don't feel like you can't give your body that deep rest, body and mind. Rest a lot. And if you can find time to go deep, whether it be through meditation or prayer, and reconnect with who you really are and get clear on who you are, or work to get clear on who you are, and start to see the gap between that person and the person that you're either pretending, and or have learned to be for survival. And there's no judgment in that. Trust me. I lived my life, most of my life, in a way that I thought it was what I needed to do to survive. And a lot of us do. A lot of us learn to bring a person to the world to survive in it. And it very often leads to a disconnect with self. So for anybody who's feeling depressed, I'd leave you with really think about that gap and give yourself time and allow yourself time to rest. Because that's the other thing with depression. Our society's like, oh, you just fight it all the time. Just keep on keeping on. And sometimes we have to. I mean, life sometimes doesn't allow us to rest as much as we need to. But where you can, and don't feel guilty about it, allow yourself to rest and start to think more and more about that gap. So, good to see everybody again. Sending love and compassion. Talk to you soon.